What's the weirdest thing you've gotten in the mail? Story 1, $1 bill. I was at a roadside welcome center somewhere in the Midwest many years ago. There was a soda machine and a locked wooden box next to it that said to write a note with your address in case the machine ate your money. As a joke, my friend wrote, "Put dollar in machine." Flames came shooting out of machine and burned my face severely and wrote my name and address. 6 months later, maybe more, I received in the mail an envelope with an official return address on it from whatever state we had been in. This was like 20 years ago or more, with a crumpled up dollar bill and a handwritten note that said, "Sorry about your face." Story 2, I guess normally it wouldn't be super weird, but when I was in Iraq, my mom sent me a care package with gummy sharks in it. Just your everyday 2-color gummy. The top half was that normal gummy consistency in blue. The bottom half was that foamy type gummy in white. Turns out when you mail meltable things to a desert, they tend to melt. Especially if it has to go through the military's in-country mail sorting process, where everything needs to sit in a steel box for a week just to make sure everything that can melt does. When I got the gummies, they had melted into a single gummy and apparently had been a liquid for long enough that the relative densities of the two gummy types caused them to separate back out into a single slab of gummy with one white side and one blue side. Story 3, I once ordered a skirt from eBay from one of those Chinese sellers. It came in the mail shortly, then again and again. After a month, I had 5 identical skirts, and they kept coming. I emailed the seller, got no response, but at some point it stopped. I think I ended up getting 8 or 9 of them in separate packages. Story 4, when I was in college, I was friends with the old lady who ran the front desk of my dormitory. When I went home for Christmas at the end of the term, I received a lumpy brown paper wrap package. She had made a plate of brownies stacked neatly on a normal ceramic plate, wrapped the whole thing in brown paper, put my home address on it, and mailed it. They were delicious. Story 5, it's not exactly weird, but cool and unexpected. I ordered an Xbox 360 way after it was cool to have one, because I got addicted to Borderlands. The box came and was ridiculously heavy for just an Xbox console and some wires. Opened the box and found a Borderlands-themed Xbox with a ton of Borderlands gear. Stickers, posters, about 7 different t-shirts, a claptrap pack of cards, strategy book, a Borderlands controller, etc. Turns out seller was moving away, and when we talked about the console, I said I'm only buying it to play Borderlands. So he gifted me this stuff he won in a contest, a wonderful surprise for me. Story 6, one time my dad received a black box in the mail about the size of a book. He seemed excited since he wasn't expecting a package. I didn't see him open it, but about a half hour later he was pretty angry at me, and he wouldn't say why. I assumed it was about the package. He must have either been disappointed in the contents or it contained something personal. He didn't talk to me the rest of the day. I ordered an adult diaper sample pack in his name 2 weeks earlier. Story 7, when I was about 20, I got a package in the mail. It was addressed to me in Seattle with no return address and a postmark from Plano, Texas. In the box, wrapped in a circular from a grocery store, presumably local to Texas, was a cheap plastic magnifying glass and one of those plastic pipes you blow bubbles with, nothing else. I always assumed the pipe and magnifying glass were supposed to signify Sherlock Holmes, and perhaps a mystery to be solved. I scoured the box and contents for additional clues, but to no avail. This was nearly 20 years ago. No other packages or clues ever arrived. It's been a mystery ever since, and I have never and will never forget about it. Story 8, I worked at a pizza place, and I ended up in the newspaper. Because we did a parade, I received a letter from someone telling me to seek Jesus, and that the pizza place was evil. Story 9, pills. Thousands of pills. It was supposed to be scrapbook supplies, but there was a mistake at the sorting facility, and a bunch of boxes got destroyed. A new employee, instead of admitting to their supervisor what had happened, just threw the stuff in new boxes and copied the shipping labels and sent on its way. There was an official note on the box explaining that the box had been damaged in shipping, and they had to replace it. Please contact them if the contents are in any way damaged. I mean, the pills were in good shape. I just didn't want to have that kind of possession charge. Local post office didn't believe me, so I brought the whole box into them. I like to imagine that there was a pharmacy out that was like, I didn't order any dinosaur stickers, but they're mine now. Another time I ordered a laptop, and it arrived WTH a bullet in it. I insisted on opening it before I accepted the delivery, because I saw the hole on the outside of the box. The police came and collected it. Apparently, there was a shooting at the sorting facility, but they hadn't recovered any bullets. I was the first one to find one. And because there was an unbroken chain of evidence, they were able to use it in the trial. It was a huge hassle to get a new laptop, though. No one wanted to admit that they had to pay for it. Edit, sorry guys, I don't know what kind of pills. They were in large sealed plastic bags, like the kind cereal comes in. Story 10, a number of years ago, I was in my house having a few beers with a friend. We got some pizza delivered. Later, we thought it would be a good idea to post a slice of pizza to another friend, stuck that bad boy in a brown envelope, put a stamp on it, and fired it into a postbox. Friend mentioned that he got a slice of pizza in the post a few days later. I acted surprised and amused, have still never admitted it was me, and that was 17 years ago. Story 11, we got a pack of thank you notes. Didn't know who they were from or why we got them until we checked one of online store account a few days later to see an unauthorized purchase of a cell phone and a package of thank you cards. Well played. Asshat. Well played. Story 1248, full-bodied. What's a full-bodied honker, you ask? A goose decoy, as we found out upon opening the box. Imagine the surprise when you open a mostly unmarked box to find 4 goose heads staring at you. There were 12 boxes. After calling UPS to clarify the situation, they said they'd send someone out. Turns out these were for the previous occupant of the house. They did not. After a second call, they told us we had to bring them to the store, that those boxes are huge. We kept them and told them they'd be here if UPS ever wanted to come get them. Somewhere some hunter is fuming mad that UPS up his order of hundreds of dollars worth of. This being senior year of college, the only thing left to do was start an epic 3-month-long game of hide a honker. Nowhere was sacred. Shower, honker, closet, honker, laundry room, honker, wake up hungover Saturday morning, honker everywhere. We eventually gave most of them away, and now every one of our friends from college has a matching full-bodied honker commemorating that year. Edit Christmas honker for those who are curious learning material. It was addressed to a guy with the same name as me, and who lived right down the street. Turned out he was a registered offender. To make a long story short, I moved. Story 13, a bag of white powder sealed in a USPS safety envelope, saying that they could not confirm the contents and that the original package had been destroyed. About a week later, I got a call from a friend asking if I had received the hot dog bun they had put in a standard envelope and mailed from across the country. Story 14, I received a box of literally thousands of coupons for a free Chick-fil-A chicken biscuit sent by some corporate place in Florida. I have no ties to Chick-fil-A at all, so I was clueless as to why I was shipped a 5 lifetime supply of chicken biscuits. There's a street in our city that is notorious for homeless people to hang out at and beg for food and money. So I just took the box up there and gave it to them to share. Story 15, ARP sends me stuff on a regular basis. I'm 25. They want me to register, but I'm a bit too young. Also, on an unrelated note, if you email companies and say you love the product, they will send you free food. I have received so much free peanut butter this way. Story 16, work for a newspaper. Once wrote a column complaining how bad my favorite sports team was playing. Must have hit a nerve, because a few days later a reader sent me a letter written on toilet paper telling me I was a piece of for bashing our city's team. I respected that. He later called, and we had a good chat. Story 17, blackout. Drunk me ordered a very large dream catcher with a picture of a bald eagle on it. I don't think I've ever been more bewildered than when I was opening that package. It's still hanging on the wall in my living room. Edit for those asking to see. Here it is. Story 18, my dad got a vacuum. Had his name on the package. We didn't order a vacuum. Made some phone calls and checked credit cards, and nothing seemed out of the ordinary. Got a free vacuum. Story 19, bag of weed. When I lived in a student flat many years ago, it was for the previous tenants, also students who had moved out at least 8 months before. There was a note in shaky handwriting saying how much they missed the former occupants and wanted them to have a smoke on them. Not wanting to attract the attention of Johnny Law, me and my flatmates disposed of these dangerous narcotics by, setting them on fire. Story 20, I got a letter mailed from Egypt to my university address, which was a brochure to encourage me to explore Islam. This might have made sense if I was in a philosophy or religious studies department, but I work in a computer science department. In California, I have a Hispanic name. I have no idea why they thought I was a prospect worth international mail for this. Story 21, a couple years back, I was up late watching random TV, and an Arby's commercial came on talking about slow-cooked meats and how we could get a free DVD of meat cooking slowly in its entirety. I thought it was hilarious, so Stomey goes to the website, and lo and behold, it's a real site, and I can really order this thing. So I order it and completely forget about it. Fast forward a couple months later, and I receive a small box in the mail. I'm extremely confused because I don't often order things online. I open it up and absolutely lost it's a multi-DVD set of different meats slow cooking. I think it was something stupid like 22 hours of meat cooking footage. It's literally a camera videotaping brisket cooking for 12 hours. I still haven't opened it. Story 22, a delusional conspiracy theorist looked up every employee at my employer, 5,000 employees. We have a public directory and wrote a personally addressed letter to each of us talking about how our bosses were part of a murderous, Satan-worshipping conspiracy and begging for help in defeating them from the inside. Story 23, live crickets for my bearded dragon. The package got delivered to the front desk of my apartment. The very concerned front desk attendant said, "Sir, not to alarm you, but I believe someone has sent you a box of insects." Story 24. My dog has received several gift vouchers from Google. Back when I was in school, you could see my dog in the window of my house on Google Street View. My friends decided to add my address business called Dog's Names House. For several years, my dog would receive a Google AdWord voucher worth $50 every year to promote his supposed dog walking business. Whenever I take a photo at home, my phone prompts me to add it to the business. Unfortunately, he's not visible anymore, but here he's looking sleepy after he woke up to me taking this photo. I got a handwritten letter from my real family telling me that they gave me up for adoption when I was an infant. They went on about making the wrong decision and desperately want me back in 28. I found out that my friend bought some new picture frames and decided to take the sample photos out Happy Family and mail them to me with a letter enclosed. I had a minor heart attack for about 10 seconds. Story 25. I once came home from middle school to see a giant box from my grandpa waiting for me. Eagerly, I opened it up only to find it was just filled with packing peanuts and a handful of change sprinkled in. I called him up and asked what gives old man. He replied, "I don't know, but it made your day, didn't it? Gotta miss that guy? Rest in peace, Grandpa." Story 26. After moving into my first apartment, I got a random package on my front doorstep with no labels on it. I brought it inside and opened it, and there was a mannequin head inside with black excess drawn over the eyes. There was no note or anything. I still don't know who left it or why, but that was a year ago. It really freaked me out for a while. Story 27, kind of the opposite. I ordered an open mouth gag on Amazon and meant to like that. And when it didn't arrive, I checked the USPS code, and it got sent to a random address. In Kansas, no less. Someone in Kansas got a random box with an open mouth gag in it. Story 28, my mom forgot to log out of my Amazon account before ordering for herself, so I was very shocked when I opened a very large and extremely expensive pink, sparkly vibrator addressed to me. I hid it underneath her pillow because she wasn't home and my dad found it before she got the chance to. I stayed at a friend's house the next few nights. Story 29, when I turned 18, Gillette sent me a free razor blade and some extra blades. They're marketing trick work because I still use the same handle they gave me 5 years, but different blades, of course. Story 30, I used to have a friend who would give me 20 a day for no reason whatsoever. I would even tell him not to, and he would still insist. That's a different story. I have posted it recently. However, I would freak out what my parents would think if I came home with this money. So I used to post it in random people's mailboxes on the way home thinking I was some New Zealand version of Oprah or something. Story 31, 8 Dead Snail, 2008, Army boot camp. We were getting our mail, and one of the guys in my squad got a thick tan envelope, those padded types, so the drill SGT has to watch you open anything thick to make sure you aren't sneaking contraband, usually food candy. Inside is a putrid smell, a dead snail, and a note. When something like this, "Hey Bob, hope boot camp is going well. We sent you a friend. His name is Steve. He was alive when we sent this. No signature or return address, WTF." We all just sat there. Even the drill SGT was speechless. Nothing ever came after this. No explanation, no follow-up, nothing. We went through the rest of boot camp with a mix of dark humor and confusion about the incident. Edit Dead Snail, not Dean Snail. Story 32, I can tell you the weirdest thing that I haven't gotten in the mail. One day, I received a letter from Australian Customs explaining that my package was being held by Customs and that if I wanted to claim it, I had to provide legitimate reasoning. I couldn't remember at all what I had ordered, so I checked eBay. About a week ago, I had bought throwing knives from Hong Kong. I read fantasy. I drink and at the time smoked weed. This is a bad combination for Australian Customs. Story 33, I received a random parcel in the mail once. I don't remember ordering anything, so I thought I might have just ordered it when I was drunk. I opened it up, and it was a bow tie. Strange. Check my eBay history. Nothing. Anyway, at this point, I was talking to a girl online who lived a long way from me. We were just bullshitting online, and I mentioned this parcel that I got. She then told me that she had ordered it for me because she wanted to see me wearing nothing but a bow tie. I had never given her my address. Story 34, I got a potato in the mail that had "You're evicted, your landlord" written in marker on it. But I own my house and have no landlord. The mystery is unsolved. Story 35, 2,500-ish. Cash. Pretty sure it was dropped in our mailbox intended for the drug dealers next door, but we were a few months from our kid being born, so we kept it for necessities. Story 36, when I was a teenager in the early 90s, before the days of the internet, I signed up for a pen pal through a magazine. I got cool letters from all over the world for a while, but eventually I only got letters from Ghana, lots of them, multiple letters per day, for over a year. So many that the mail carrier asked my mom why I got so many letters from Ghana. No letter in particular was all that weird. They were mostly asking me to send them $1 or a Walkman or something, but the experience in general was pretty strange. My dad decided I must be some sort of Ghanaian celebrity. Story 37. One time, I got a small package delivered to me containing 4 Iraqi passports. The picture showed a man, woman, and 2 children. I live in Sweden for those wondering. After some investigation, I found out that it had been addressed wrong and that the family who had them made legally lived pretty close to me. So I contacted them and gave it to them. They were really happy since they had paid a lot for them. Story 38. Not exactly weird, but on a weekly basis, sometimes a few times a week, we receive Scientology mail for the previous family. Mail carrier probably thinks we're something. You know what? This probably explains my magazine's folded top to bottom breaking the spine and never getting out of the truck when we were clearly home for deliveries, a Scientology book addressed to someone who wasn't me, but had a name so oddly similar it couldn't have been a coincidence, same initials. Literally my last name with an extra letter, etc. I thought it was weird. I think I posted it on Facebook or something. Turns out it was my ex who got my address from a mutual friend and had it sent to my house for shits and giggles. Story 39. When I was around 10, I was at summer camp and I got a package from my grandpa. Now, this particular summer camp had a strict no candy in the cabins policy, so we had to open our package in front of our counselors. I opened to find my grandpa had sent me a brand new Garmin GPS system. I had no idea why until I opened the letter, which said in big letters at the top, "Be careful when you make your escape." There are copperheads in the grass. The whole letter that followed was various instructions on how to sneak away from camp in the night and how to use the GPS to find my way home. The counselors were pretty concerned. Story 40. I got a manila envelope with just a potato in it. ID, just moved to the neighborhood, and someone mailed me a potato with "Welcome to the Taterhood" written in Sharpie on it. Asked all my friends, posted on Facebook, mentioned it to the few neighbors I've talked to. Nobody's admitted anything. Story 41. A paper cutout of a crocodile dressed in drag. It was the only thing in the envelope. No note or anything. It was from my best friend, and we have an inside joke about crocodiles, so that part made sense. The drag part didn't make sense until 3 days later, when I received a second envelope, which contained only a slip of paper that said Bianca Del Rio, a pun on my favorite drag queen's name. She never would tell me why she did it, but it was by far one of the greatest surprises I've ever received. Story 42. Pantyhose. I had some identity theft, and they used my credit card and sent me pantyhose, my grandma, some supplement pills, and mailed something through UPS that was seized by the DEA. I'm still baffled by that one. Story 43. At my old apartment, apparently the previous tenant was a Black Mild Rewards member. They sent some crappy slippers, some crappy headphones, and a whiskey ice cube silicone tray thing. I kept them all. Story 44. A few years back, I moved into an apartment with my then girlfriend. It was in November, and the first package we ever got in the mail was for a previous tenant. It was a pretty big box. It rattled a little, and I was curious as she wanted to send it back without opening it up, but no way. So anyway, I opened it up, and it was 2 of the creepiest, ugliest handmade dolls I've ever seen. Not like Barbie dolls, but like Cabbage Patch Kids. The faces were made out of plastic, but the rest was all knitted and sewn, and they looked like something out of a horror movie. There was a note that said something along the lines of Takani. "Thanks for the beef. Here are those 2 kids you wanted. Those things were gross." Story 45. My wife and I are lesbians trying to have a baby. You can get delivered from Denmark. It comes frozen in a big dewar of liquid nitrogen in a giant, reinforced case. It's the most way to make a baby. I got a frozen watercolor set addressed to me from Amazon that I didn't order. It wasn't in my account history. None of my friends said they ordered it either. I was a 22-year-old male grad student who didn't have time for watercoloring. Story 46. One of my best friends would occasionally send me raunchy in the mail without a heads up. A few weeks before the presidential election, I received a mini Trump piñata. Honorable mention, same friend, 1 package containing themed random items, shaped ruler, stickers, a few condoms. Second honorable mention, same friend, a potato, yes. A potato SFW with something written in a black permanent marker. It really threw me and my friends off, but it was a great conversation starter since I had no idea what a potato was. Just kidding. But for the record, I indeed did receive all of these items within the course of a few months. Story 47. I once received a handwritten letter from some church congratulating me on the recent birth of my child, along with some religious brochures. I've never had a child. It made me wonder if they go through the newspaper looking for recent births, and then try to find the parent's address somehow. Story 48. Shoes. I wasn't expecting shoes, so I Googled the return address. It was someone I had never heard of. Not only was it someone I had never heard of, but the name on the box was my real last name, and not the one I have adopted for work that everyone knows me by. That suggested Real was going down, being involved in sketchier enterprises at the time. I took the sols out, etc., to look for drugs. Nada. Now, I was getting freaked out. So I asked a PI friend to look this guy up and see if we could figure out why they would have been sent to me. They'd been sent by a 70-year-old offender. Oh shit. JPG a few days later, my buddy who lives abroad and sometimes gets specialty products delivered to me hit me up asking, "Did you get those shoes I ordered?" Story 49. When I was a kid, my sister ordered live baby chicks from a catalog. The post office actually called us to come pick them up because the little chirps were echoing though the building and driving every crazy. Story 50. Not me, but Angelina Jolie. When I was around 7, there was something on MTV or somewhere about how she liked to wear color lipstick better than other colors. I got a half-used tube of lipstick from my mom's makeup box and promptly mailed it to the address she used for fan mail. No note or anything, just a tube of clearly half-used lipstick. To be fair, she probably never opened it, saw it, but sometimes now, as an adult, I like to think that an assistant or someone opened it and got weirded out. Also, to be fair, that is probably hardly the weirdest thing Angelina Jolie received as fan mail. Story 51. My federal government will send out brochures, one-sheets, and all manner of information about a number of different topics in a variety of different languages to anyone who goes on their website, which is how my friend ended up having to drive to the post office to pick up 200 flyers about HIV/AIDS awareness written in Tagalog. Other fun things he's got in the mail include foot cream, multiple Bible stories, and Qurans. Once a year, he gets signed up to a new mother's program with Nestle and gets a backpack of formula, diapers, and coupons which we donate. He was a member of a number of different free trade magazine quarterlies for a few years. Woodworking was my favorite because they didn't cut his subscription off for something like 5 years after I signed him up for it. Oh, and once a Mormon church in Salt Lake City called him up on a Sunday at 7 a.m. because someone told him he was an alcoholic and searching for something greater than himself. Filled out a fake resume for me at a Tim Hortons when we were in high school. Told them that I could work 24 hours a day, and I had basically invented the ice cap machine. They called and called and called trying to get me in for an interview. As the years go by, my revenge gets sweeter and sweeter. Which reminds me, he's due for another angel from a great organization and worthy of your donations. D8 toilet brush holder in the shape of a cowboy boot, and a bottle of hot sauce in a box with no return address. Very strange, since I have no idea who sent it to me, and none of my friends will own up to it. Story 52. I got a baggie of cat hair. To test if I was going to be allergic to the kitten we were considering buying. I wasn't allergic, although sitting around huffing a wad of cat hair is one of the stranger activities to take place in my living room. Although we ended up going with a different guy in the end for our fluffy little dude. Story 53. Around 2 years ago, I got a pillow with a dog printed on it in the mail. I hadn't ordered one, and all the shipping information was in Chinese. I kept it, though, because it matches my couch, and it's lucky I call it my puppy pillow. Edit Chinese. Story 54. I got a program from the funeral of the late, great Tom Peterson. Glorious in it after they found a letter I wrote him a few months before his passing. Story 55. Once ordered an Xbox One from GameStop. And then when I got it, had 2 more in a box. I emailed GameStop, and they said, just keep him. Thanks. I then gifted him to my friends over the holidays, and they were ecstatic. 3 of the Assassin's Creed Black Flag Unity bundles. Story 56. I used to intern at a literary agency, and one of my jobs was to open and sort the unsolicited query letters, aka the slush pile. Turns out submissions from prison are fairly commonplace in slush piles. The first prison letter I ever opened was also the best. The book they were pitching was about a man imprisoned for a crime he didn't commit. Side note, this would be the case for every prison submission I ever opened. But that was the least interesting part of the query. The man had included a weird little sketch of some wine bottles telling jokes, can't remember anything about them other than they weren't very funny, and had included in his envelope a packet of instant coffee from the prison commissary. First and only time in my life I've had to tell a boss someone sent you coffee from prison. Story 57. A friend of mine once received some used stockings. He was very shocked when the package arrived, especially when he saw it had been bought from his eBay PayPal account. To this day, he actually thinks he ordered them himself when he returned home from a night out on the beer and suffered from alcohol-induced memory loss. In reality, I simply clicked onto his laptop that evening, auto-logged in his eBay, and bought the weirdest thing I could find. I hope he doesn't read this. Story 58. My wife accidentally ended up on a fake site selling Ugg boots. She was ordered a pair. When they arrived, they came as 2 left feet. My wife emailed the seller to complain. Seller's resolution. They refunded her half since she could still wear half. Story 59. I once ordered a cymbal stand off eBay. Box arrived with said cymbal stand, alongside an old VHS tape with a recorded old kung fu movie and an extra large condom. Story 60. This is going to get buried every several years since middle school. I receive at my parents' house, but addressed to me, a catalog for mentally challenged children. It's got safer and sometimes wheelchair-accessible playground equipment, toys that are approved for use by mentally challenged children. No idea why it gets sent there. Our best guess is somebody I was in school with signed me up for their mailing list as a joke and forgot about it. Interlocking Pavement, monthly magazine, or something similar having to do with interlocking pavement. Story 61. When I was little, my dad's parents, who were retired in Florida, decided to mail us a coconut to our home in NJ. They wrote the address and put the postage directly on it, and off it went. Our mailman wasn't sure what to do with it, so he just jammed it in our mailbox. My dad eventually got it out, but our mailbox was always a little warped after that. Story 62. Last year, around Christmas time, my mother-in-law called to let us know that she had ordered one of our gifts and to be delivered sometime soon. She had also texted me earlier that week to ask if my husband still likes Star Wars. Obviously he does, but I let her know he had already bought himself the new Star Wars video games in case that's what she had in mind. Seemed fine. Then my husband was hospitalized with a super fun intestinal infection, and so I was spending about 12 hours a day with him there. So one night I come home, tired and stressed out, and hoping to just sit and relax for a minute while eating cold pizza. But I see a huge box on our porch. What could it be? I thought maybe patio furniture or a grill dude size, but then I picked it up to bring inside, and it was maybe 5 pounds. What is so big but light? Well, I bring it inside, and because patience isn't my main virtue, I open it. 4-foot-tall stormtrooper with motion-activated laser noises and shouting for a 31-year-old son. The best part was that it stood in the kitchen, and so whenever I came downstairs in the dark in the morning, it would scare me because it looked like a person. Story 63. A popcorn machine was delivered to my house within an hour of ordering on Amazon. I live in Nebraska, which is an American state with wide open plains and very little cities. Hardly anyone lives in the countryside, although it's a nice place. So my grandfather is an antique collector. He is moderately wealthy, so his collection is quite impressive. His favorite things to collect are little booths that could be found at fairs in the early 1900s, ex-fortune teller puppets, 30-second movies, phonographs. So I see this really nice stainless steel automatic popcorn machine from 1930 on Amazon. It comes with popcorn pellets and only costs around $200. My grandfather is an old man and his birthday is coming up, so why not? I click add to cart and a new option is there. Amazon X drone delivery. The machine is tiny and only weighs around 20 pounds. In Nebraska, is so sparsely populated, it's unlikely that the drone will cause any trouble. However, I was skeptical, but lo and behold, 50 minutes later, there it is. Knock, knock, open up the door. It's real with a non-stop pop of stainless steel. X going to give it to you, getting it on your own. X going to deliver to you. Story 64. XXS men's Topman boxers and a hand-drawn cartoon of some description. Became friends with someone on Messenger when I was 16, and that's what he sent me in the post with intention of me wearing them. They were clean BTW. Story 65. I'm from the U.S., but I was living in Spain. Buddy Paul randomly mails me a slice of pizza from our college town. It was shrink-wrapped, but not refrigerated for the multi-day, non-express mail journey. Yes, I ate it. Story 66. I got an envelope in the mail that's return address was in Korean, and it was all jankily taped up. Inside was just 30 stickers of Kim Jong-un's face. No note or anything. I like to believe we chosen to receive those stickers to covertly to spread the glory of North Korea. Story 67 was on the phone to a friend who lives interstate. She was making pancakes, and I jokingly said to post me some. 3 days later, an envelope-shaped pancake arrived in the mail. Yes, I ate it. Tasted like 3-day-old pancake. Story 68. When I moved into my new house, I got a box in the mail containing several brochures, a book, and DVD, all welcoming me to the Alpaca Owners Association of America. It confused the out of me for a couple months until I found out that every one of my friends had received the same gift except for one, who finally admitted he had signed us all up for the mailing list. I'm still trying to think of how to get him back, but also am thankful that now I know a lot more about alpacas. Story 69. My aunt used to work for a horse breeder, and because my family had a P.O. box, she volunteered to receive any large packages they needed, so no one would have to drive all the way out to sign for them. Do you know they send horse semen through the mail? Because I never volunteered to pick up the mail since. Story 70. Blesswater. I received it from one of those creepy television evangelists that I signed up for as a joke at 3:30 a.m. one night. Basically, wherever you rub this water would be blessed, cure your arthritis, make your hair grow, etc. After you were blessed by water, you should bless the man who sent it with some cold, hard cash. I rubbed some on my hands and the rest on my wallet and joked about how much money you'll be making tonight. I'm a bartender. 5 minutes later, I got a tip for 50 on 50. Story 71. Once, I received a large box the size of an old cat monitor from nowhere, which obviously I didn't expect. Inside was an aquarium, which made most of the box. A Christmas tree lights the long one. You know that. And a sickle-type weapon with a long chain. After some searching, it turned out to be a kuzarigama. I couldn't comprehend of what's the connection between those things. I ended up keeping the aquarium and the lights, the DIY soul I am, and returned to Cindered the kuzarigama, as I have no use of it.